As I'm recording this video, it's raining, and I'm right by a window, so I'm hoping that the sound isn't unbelievably terrible. With that being said, I will definitely take some rain on a not terribly cold day over negative 30-degree wind chill like we had around a month ago. But anyway, intro, take one. What's going on, everyone? Steve here, and tonight we're going to be talking about the movie Judas and the Black Messiah, directed by Shaka King and starring Daniel Kaluuya, LaKeith Stanfield, Dominique Fishback, and many others. Based on true events, the film follows the story of Bill O'Neill, played by LaKeith Stanfield, an FBI informant who infiltrated the Black Panther Party at the time when Chairman Fred Hampton, played by Daniel Kaluuya, was making a giant ascent and impression among the Black Panther Party. As Hampton climbs the ranks higher and higher, and O'Neill gets more involved with the party, he ends up wondering if what he's doing is the right thing. I have to say, if I wanted to sum it up in a few sentences, that Judas and the Black Messiah is definitely a very gripping film, and it works on so many levels for so many different reasons. And it recently got nominated for a bunch of Oscars, up to and including Best Picture. And I definitely think it deserves it. And let's jump into why. As usual, I'll start off with the performances. And even though everybody in this film is amazing, you can't talk about this movie without talking about Daniel Kaluuya. Daniel Kaluuya is absolutely amazing in the role of Fred Hampton. I would imagine that playing this role would have been extremely difficult and intimidating to take on, not just because it's a historical figure, but because it's such an important historical figure. Daniel Kaluuya shows that he's really gifted in this role. He leaves such a strong impression. Let's put it this way. I will be mad if Daniel Kaluuya doesn't win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role in this. Alright, maybe not legitimately mad, but I would be wondering, you know what? How did they beat Daniel Kaluuya for this? Which brings me to another thing. LaKeith Stanfield got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this too, which makes me think, who has the lead in this movie? But regardless of my comments on that, LaKeith Stanfield almost matches Daniel Kaluuya's performance just as well. He is extraordinarily good playing Bill O'Neill. Daniel Kaluuya and LaKeith Stanfield are both people who I think outdo themselves every time they take on a role. Because every time I end up thinking, holy shit, these guys are amazing. And I have to say Dominique Fishback is very good as well. She totally nails her role as well. And she doesn't get a huge amount of screen time, but she shines in every single frame she's in. And of course, Jesse Plemmons can't really escape Todd syndrome, where he plays somebody who's definitely not a good guy, and is somebody who you definitely don't think you should trust while you're watching the movie, but he does it well. Technically speaking, the movie has excellent cinematography as well. The movie's really well shot. It's also really well edited. But it never gets to that point of style over substance either. You never watch this movie and think, that was an amazing shot just for the sake of having an amazing shot. It always complements what's going on. Now, a lot of people are probably going to critique this movie because it is kinda, I shouldn't say your standard biography. It's definitely got the formula that goes along with biography movies. You have performers portraying historical figures. You have the catalyst event that causes them to meet. You have big things that happen in their lives, and then you have the giant climax, and how that was this shocking thing that happened in history. And this movie absolutely has that, but it does it really damn well. Most of the reason why this film is excellent is because of the fantastic performances, especially by Daniel Kaluuya and LaKeith Stanfield. And of course, it's because of the great filmmaking, it's because of the great cinematography, and it's because of the great editing, and it's because of the great musical choice as well. This movie has great musical choice. But it also has to do with this tension that builds as these characters get more and more involved in what's going on. Now, this is a biography type of movie, and it is based in history, and obviously it's not going to be 100% historically accurate. So there might be some things that people don't want to know going in, so I am going to talk about some things that happen in the movie at this point, so I guess, spoiler warning? The best way I could say it without giving too much away, right off the bat, is that if you have any soul at all, this movie's going to make you angry. And it has nothing to do with bad filmmaking or bad acting or anything that makes a bad movie or a movie less than a good movie, because this is a great movie. What makes you mad is knowing that this shit actually happened. The movie at its core is definitely depicting betrayal. There's a huge theme of betrayal under the covers of the movie. You've got a guy who is an FBI informant infiltrating the Black Panther Party with them thinking that he's joining their party. And obviously, that's a betrayal right there. There's also a betrayal of the informant by the guy who says that he's going to stand by him as long as he's the informant. You have the flagrant betrayal of Fred Hampton by the justice system, and by the police, and by the government, and by the FBI. And I can go on and on and on about betrayal and how betrayal's a bad thing. But the thing that the movie explores quite well is that, except for maybe a few characters in the movie who are kind of supporting characters, the betrayal that happens in the movie is framed in such a way that the people who are doing the betrayal don't feel comfortable doing it. Let's put it this way. All of us think of ourselves as good people. All of us have been in good situations in our lives and bad situations in our lives. And there are a lot of things that could happen to us that are horrible things, where we could end up putting ourselves in a situation where we have to make a choice of whether or not we would do the right thing. And if we don't do the right thing, something bad's going to happen to us, but we're going to save somebody else and we're not going to betray that person. Most of us tend to instinctively say, I would never do that to that person. I would take the route where I'm going to hurt myself over hurting that person. But this movie calls that into question. And realistically speaking, you're never going to know until that happens. And the movie's very timely. It's very relevant to things that are happening today. We live in a time where there's a lot of racism. We live in a time where there is tons of injustice that's done against a bunch of people who just don't want to get hurt every day and don't want to see people they love dying every day or getting thrown in jail every day. And they want to make the world a better place. And this movie is definitely for those people, but it's not going to make them happy. It's going to make people angry, but it's the right type of angry. It's reminding us of something that happened in history that was a giant stain on history with what happened to Fred Hampton. And we got to remind ourselves that these things happened so we don't make these mistakes again. And so that if we see something that looks like it's similar about to happen, we can avoid it happening and stop it from happening. And I have to recommend checking this one out because, sure, it follows kind of a formulaic way of depicting a biography of somebody, but it's still an extremely important story to know. And it's an extremely important history lesson, which obviously, like I said before, not 100% historically accurate. Certain things are dramatized and there's certain stuff that's speculative, but it still gets its point across. And it's not a point that's made in falsehood. This is something that actually happened. And we've got to know about it. And I think this movie told the story really well. And for that reason, I have to recommend checking out Judas and the Black Messiah. And that's it for tonight's review of Judas and the Black Messiah. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and helps people who don't know about my content but would like to see content like this find my content. And if you're new here and you want to see more content from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. And if you really want to be notified when I post a new video, instead of just randomly finding one every now and then, go ahead and hit the bell icon so you can be notified when I post a new video. And with that, have a good night, and I'll see you later.